Welcome everybody to a webinar from eBridge Marketing Solutions and the Host Broker. My name is Devin Rose and I'm joined by Jason Park from eBridge and from the Host Broker as well. And today we're really pleased to bring you a webinar that is on a topic that we get asked about a lot at eBridge. And that is, what is the role of social media for IT service providers? So before we get into the presentation, I wanted to give you a little bit of information about the Host Broker and about eBridge Marketing Solutions. You might already be familiar with the Host Broker and my boss, Heartland Ross. The Host Broker is a brokerage for MSPs, web hosts, and other IT service providers. And we've been in business for over 15 years. And if you're interested in any help with either acquisitions for companies you might be interested in growing your customer base with, or selling your own business, you can reach out through thehostbroker.com. We do have a free evaluation available, and there is a mailing list of opportunities for companies to acquire that we distribute weekly. And eBridge Marketing Solutions is the marketing side of our business, serving mostly the same sort of companies, MSPs, web hosts, and other IT service firms. We've been in business for over 20 years, so we really know this space, what works and what doesn't, and we're hoping to share some of that wisdom with you today in regard to social media. We do offer a full range of marketing services, and if you're interested, you can reach out through ebridgemarketingsolutions.com, where we have some more information about our services there as well. And joining me today is Jason Park from eBridge. And Jason, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I have about 15 years of web development and digital marketing experience. I'm always interested in anything also to do with pulp culture in terms of movies and television. So that's kind of like my hobby. And my other hobby is really just I love helping companies grow their brands. And my philosophy is to incorporate data in design as well together.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jason. And so this really brings us into the presentation for today and in regard to the role of social media. And we're starting off here with a slide that is asking, what are the key differences between organic and paid social media, as that is an important dichotomy to understand. Jason, do you maybe want to tell us a little bit about the key differences?
For sure. So organic social media refers to social media posts that appeal to people that follow you or have people discover you. So that's basically posts that are usually involved not really any kind of commercial buying type of posts. It's mostly talking about the company, the people, the culture, and just maybe even reposting newsworthy items across the net. Paid social media refers to ads that will appear on Facebook and Instagram. And basically, it has a clear call to action. The goal is to reach new people and to have people engage with your post, either click to your website or start a conversation.
Gotcha. So the organic is the non-pushy, non-commercial advertising to your existing client base, versus the paid is you're paying to broadcast a message. And I think that's a key distinction, is that obviously when you're paying to broadcast your message out there, it is more ROI return focused. Whereas on the organic side, because it's not so commercial, and because you're not really getting strong call to actions, you're probably not going to be able to track the commercial results of those so sophisticatedly, especially because of some of the changes we've seen recently, which we'll talk about later on in the presentation, about some privacy trends with advertising and mobile advertising. We're definitely losing the ability to track long term the results, especially for things like organic. So any other thoughts on the differences between organic and paid, Jason?
Yeah, you can also think of it as a funnel. So organic is mostly appealing to your core audience or your followers. And paid is kind of like further down the funnel, where the goal is, if you're paying for a post or on the social media networks, it should have ideally an ROI aspect to it. So the organic is mostly for building awareness, and for building your brand, and the paid is mostly for asking for an action of some sort that you can track.
Gotcha. And it's probably good to mention here too that there's been quite a change in the years with the social media algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the golden days of advertising on Facebook, you create your company profile, you start sending out messages, organic messages on your wall, and people would see them if they were following you, because the feed would be chronological. Whereas nowadays, what you see in your feed is much determined by how much engagement your post makes. So if you make a post on Facebook organically and it doesn't really get much engagement at the very beginning, it's not going to be seen by a lot of people. But if there is that initial inertia, the momentum, then it might be seen broader. But the takeaway there is that generally speaking, the algorithms have become more restrictive, made it more difficult to reach people, because they want you to go for paid. So that's kind of the game that's at play here. The organic isn't as effective as it used to be, and they want you to pay for it instead.
That's right. And I think the term you'll hear a lot is called throttling the posts or throttling the views. So ideally right now it's turning into more of a pay per play type of environment, especially like, for example, if you have 1,000 followers and people that like your page, if you post organically, maybe less than 1% will see it unless you boost it.
Yeah, not very good, is it? Doesn't make it as attractive to gain those followers as it used to be.
It's a lot more difficult.
Yeah. So, most social media networks will have both the organic and the paid. In fact, I think they all do. But which social media networks do you think are the most appropriate for IT service providers? And perhaps we could walk through these one at a time here. So we're starting off with LinkedIn. How do you view the appropriateness of LinkedIn for IT service providers?
Sure. So before we get into it, really the question is where is your audience hanging out? So especially for MSPs, if they're targeting, I would say upper management, CFOs, most likely they'll be around the age of at least 35 and up. So in terms of LinkedIn, it's a much more professional environment where you can find people based on their title. So that's a great place to start posting.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we could contrast that with the next one in Facebook here, where these days the audience on Facebook skews like probably too old.
Yeah, we're finding that it's skewing older. Facebook will always have relevancy just because of the huge audience that it carries. But I would say LinkedIn, you can target a lot better. And Facebook is just, I guess, slowly getting more and more irrelevant, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so too. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, but yeah, I don't really see it growing. I think it's kind of peaked, especially with younger people. I mean, teenagers these days, for instance, aren't even on Facebook. So,
yeah.
And in terms of, LinkedIn too, you mentioned this already a little bit, Jason, but you can find people's job titles on LinkedIn. And one of the nice things about that is that people don't usually lie about their contact information or their job information on LinkedIn. So if you are doing, let's say, like lead generation on LinkedIn or something, you can be reasonably confident that the contact information you're getting and all the other information is accurate. Whereas, like, say on Facebook, you're probably going to get some more fake profiles, fake names, stuff like that, because people are a little bit scared about Facebook tracking them and stuff like that. Yeah, and also just getting people in the right mindset. So I think that this is generalizing, but I think when people are on Facebook at work, their goal is to procrastinate. Like, you're not going on Facebook to get work done during the day. You're getting
Mhm.
a little mental break, right? So they're not in the right mind frame to be reached on Facebook, which limits the appropriateness of tactics. I mean, there's still some applications, but whereas on LinkedIn, people are going to be more in the purchase mindset.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, and then on Twitter, Twitter is an interesting one for IT service providers. I think that it used to be a little bit more popular, but the problem is that people will use Twitter as a substitute for submitting support tickets. So it's something you have to be aware of. Like, it's not really a good thing to be resolving support tickets in a public domain. And people kind of like to go on Twitter just to complain to brands and try to kind of guilt trip them into giving them priority service or whatever. So that is kind of a fine line to walk with Twitter. But it can still be good for maybe like distributing, if you're like writing blogs and publishing them regularly. You may as well publish them on Twitter too, just because it helps get a little bit more eyeballs on them.
Mhm.
But yeah, what are your thoughts, Jason, on the appropriateness of Twitter?
Yeah, and I would say that if you have the resources to monitor Twitter, it's great for a secondary level of customer service. Just because, if people can't reach your company by phone or by email and they're frustrated, most likely they'll vent on Twitter. And so it's good to have at least someone monitoring direct messages and seeing. And basically, the strategy there is to use Twitter to respond back to these people and ask them to contact you directly or send and see if you can resolve their problems. So if you do have the resources on your side in terms of staff, it may not be a bad idea to monitor your Twitter account and people tagging you.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think the takeaway there for me is that you don't want to have unresolved complaints on Twitter. But
Mhm.
if you can come across like you're addressing them and taking them seriously and professionally, and you do have the resources to monitor it, then Twitter could be a good avenue as well. And then there's YouTube. So YouTube isn't really thought of as a social media network like the others are, but it is certainly evolving to be more in that direction as time goes on here. Um, and I'm another thing to think about YouTube is it's not only is it a social network, but it's also like a search engine too. There are a lot of people doing search on YouTube every day, trying to find videos and topics. And that's one thing is if like today we're going to eat our own dog food here. Well, where this webinar after we're done is going to go on our YouTube channel. We're going to set up the proper channels, chapters rather. So people searching for information about questions like it's on the slide today can find it. So it's more than just a video hub nowadays. It is a social media network, and it is a search engine as well. What are your thoughts on the appropriateness of YouTube, Jason?
Yeah. So again, if your company has the resources, creating videos and focusing on maybe even the educational aspect of your business. For example, how to solve basic router problems, basic issues with connectivity for your network and things like that. It could be a great resource. And when people look and seek solutions, and if they find your company, again, it could be a great branding exercise to say, hey, these guys know what they're doing. I trust them. What you said worked. I'll remember you guys in the future for potential services. So again, it's kind of like using the educational aspect, making videos that way to kind of dangle the carrot a little bit. And again, just to build awareness of your brand and that you're out there in different channels.
Yeah, and building that credibility, and also like forgive me for using a buzz term here, but like the social proof aspect of it.
Mhm.
We're seeing someone face to face, and as in your example of like solving a router issue or whatever, hearing someone talk through that is going to establish that social proof expertise. So yeah, YouTube is definitely a good option for IT service providers. Oops. Oh, and we still have TikTok here. So TikTok is a little bit of an outlier here in that, obviously it's a platform catering towards teenagers. So what's the point including TikTok on the slide today? Well, the thing about TikTok is it's kind of similar to Facebook, where even though the audience isn't perfect, it's so popular that there is going to be IT decision makers on there. It's so broadly popular. It's not just teenagers who are using it. It's a whole wide variety of people, even though it skews towards teenagers. And interestingly, very recently, TikTok came out with a new lead generation ad unit, specifically trying to target B2B. I actually haven't had a chance to experiment with it yet. If you're interested in trying it out, give me a call. I'd love to set up a campaign for you. But it's certainly interesting seeing a social network for teenagers offering B2B ad units. What are your thoughts on that, Jason?
Yeah, you can't count TikTok out in terms of the audience. It's just exploded in the past year or so, and the variety of people that are on it. Again, I would say if you do want to reach a target market on TikTok, uh, you can't go wrong with going through the educational route in terms of content. So think about the type of content you want to post. Again, it could be inside jokes for IT people. You might amass a following, right, of people, and then again, it's great for brand building.
Yeah, for sure. And it's worth noting too that TikTok's advertising platform and capabilities are fairly rudimentary right now. And it's a good time to get in because I think there's a trend where we're already seeing where they're increasing their pricing for their advertising, because it's pretty effective. And I think at the beginning they were offering quite a discount. But anyway, it's probably a good time to get on TikTok because I don't anticipate it getting less competitive or cheaper. It's probably just going to get more competitive as time goes because I don't think it's going anywhere. And then there's Reddit there. And so Reddit is an interesting one. Me, myself, I'm a big Redditor, been on there for like 10 years, and I'm a supporter of the site. One thing I'm not a supporter of, though, is on the paid social media side of things, their advertising is abysmal. I've tried many times for B2B. I've never gotten any results, no matter what I've done. So I really don't view the appropriateness of Reddit to be on the paid side. Having said that, on the organic side, there is more opportunity, especially if you're an MSP that is like focused on a particular vertical. If there's a vertical on Reddit that corresponds, sorry, if there's a subreddit on that corresponds to that vertical, being involved in that conversation on Reddit, it is going to be big and it will get you leads. And this is another one where we practice what we preach. We're involved on on Reddit in terms of MSP topics, and I can tell you firsthand that it's a very good lead generation activity. Just make sure that you focus on adding value, answering questions and stuff, because Redditors are very, very adverse to advertising. So it has to be a value add sort of an activity. But if you do have a community on there that's worth reaching, it can be a good option.
For sure. And for all the social media networks, if you're not familiar with them, I advise you to sign up and spend a few weeks just browsing the platform. Every channel has its own culture. So Reddit, as you mentioned, Devin, is very particular. They're a very different group than people that are on Facebook.
100% agreed. And with Reddit, one thing that's a major difference is that people are anonymous on Reddit, generally speaking. So it's a little bit weird as a business doing kind of lead generation activities to an anonymous audience. But yeah, all I can say is that you can get real business connections on Reddit. I know because we've done it ourselves. Okay, so we've touched on a little bit of this already, but what role does organic play for IT service providers? What are the main things that come to mind for you, Jason? We talked about the reach into your existing client base. What are some other things that come to mind for you there?
Yeah, funny enough, it kind of also involves building your reputation and credentials, really, because if a lot of people if they do visit your social media, if they want to see when's the last time you posted, right? So it kind of gives an idea of how active you are in terms of consumer response and things like that. But yeah, in terms of organic, it's a great way to distribute new content. Let's say you have a new data server or something. It's a great place to post that information, where it's more general than having a full-fledged blog post on it on your website. It's also great for communication if there are more immediate needs, like in terms of, let's say there's network outages or any kind of other incidents to your network. So it's a great way to get the word out there and have people reassure them that you're on it and that you know that it exists, rather than a static site. And it's harder to post information like that.
Totally agreed. Another thing that comes to mind for me is in terms of SEO. Like these social media networks have very, very strong domains. So they tend to show up very highly in search results. And you can take advantage of that because your company profile is probably going to show up pretty prominently in Google results as well. So by having your Twitter profile, your Facebook profile, your LinkedIn profile optimized and filled out, it's going to get your brand up there more in Google for relevant searches, especially for your branded searches, which is nice. And quite often these days there are, say for Facebook, for instance, there's reviews, company reviews. And well, quite often those are displayed in the search results as well. So it goes back to that idea of social proof. If you have an active Facebook account, you can get those reviews, you get that social proof.
And I have a little bit of an insider tip. If you notice when you do searches for companies, you'll notice their tweets come up pretty high organically. So if you have a Twitter account, I think there is an established relationship between Google and Twitter for Google to post the latest tweets, based on your keyword search, higher than other social networks. I think it's still ongoing. So if you're thinking of it, that's another good reason for using Twitter as well too. It could just give you more exposure on page one for people searching for your keyword on Google search.
For sure. And like putting yourself in the mindset of someone who's like a new lead. Mm-hmm. They search your branded keywords and then they come up, and the search that comes up is a LinkedIn account that has a couple hundred followers. There's a Facebook account that has half dozen reviews and a 4.5 star, an active Twitter account. Like that all lends to credibility. In a way that's kind of hard to measure and hard to really narrow down exactly like how much ROI that sort of stuff contributes to, but it undoubtedly plays a part in like validating your business's credibility during that research phase. Okay, and then to contrast on the paid side of things, what type of ad units are the best for IT service providers? Jason, what comes to mind for you there?
Yeah, so a common type of ad unit from Facebook and Instagram. Again, I'm going to refer to a funnel. Facebook and Instagram are ideal for building awareness to your brand. So I would refer to that as like a top of the funnel. It's also great for Facebook also has a great lead generation ad type where you can actually have a specific ad where you can where the user can input their information directly in Facebook, and Facebook will send you that lead generation information as well too. A third type of ad unit is retargeting. So because if you have the Facebook pixel installed on your website, you can track people visiting your site and then retarget them later for a more of a call to action type ad afterwards. So that seems to be a good another ad type that you should consider using.
For sure, there's a marketing cliche that comes to mind for me, and it's more about consumer marketing, but I'll cite it here just to prove a point. But the idea being that a customer needs to have 7 interactions with your brand before they'll complete a purchase. So if you think about retargeting in those terms, it allows you to re-engage with people who've already visited your website, already visited your Facebook account, and just getting a few more of those brand interactions to help move them through the funnel. Okay, and we already kind of touched on the social media impact on SEO. So let's talk about the privacy trends impacting social media And this largely pertains to the iOS 14 updates that we saw. I think it was back in April. So this is very new. This is a current event and still kind of being sorted out, I suppose. But Jason, what are you seeing so far on the impacts of this new privacy legislation for iOS 14 on social media campaigns?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, the iOS 14 changes basically gives the user an option to opt out of any kind of marketing based on the app that they're using. If you noticed, if you've gone into the App Store, the Apple iOS App Store, and looked at any app, you'll see even more detailed privacy information in terms of what the app can see in terms of your information. So they've gone really basically use more consumer friendly in terms of having the user have the choice of opting in or out, and that this affects Facebook in a large way because their tracking ability and their retargeting ability actually is affected by this. If people opt out, they will be essentially flying blind in terms of tracking. Facebook is using different resources that they have to try to move around this, but again, the accuracy is not as good as it was before iOS 14. So that's one thing to be aware of.
Yeah, and this is a trend I don't see stopping anytime soon. Excuse me, where I think we'll see less and less transparency into attribution for marketing. I think the trend is going to be towards consumer privacy over businesses' ability to track. And so we're already seeing this with these recent changes where it's really only last click attribution that you can really do now with iOS 14. So as before, you might be able to get more data on, like, if someone clicked your Facebook ad but then converted a week later, you'd be able to track that back to Facebook better. But we're losing that ability, and I think that's just going to accelerate going forward. And so the takeaway for me is that I think we're returning more into like a kind of an older school marketing environment where we're not going to be able to measure everything. So it's going to be more important to just do the right things and have confidence that you're doing the right things will get you the results than it is going to be to measure and optimize and tweak, like, kind of what we've developed over the last 10 years. But it will be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, in a nutshell, Facebook ads and Instagram ads will still have an effect in terms of sales. It's just very difficult to figure out exactly which ad and again to attribute their actual platform into causing the sale. So it's almost like in the future you'll have to use maybe an omni-channel approach to get more visitors to your website. So Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, all that combined hopefully will create a halo effect and drive sales. You just won't be able to attribute exactly which one of those levers that you pull caused the conversion to happen.
Exactly. And what are some social media challenges that are facing IT service providers in particular? So we talked a little bit about answering tickets on social media and how that can be less preferable than just answering them in your support ticket environment. Another one that comes to mind for me here is, social media is largely visual, and IT service providers don't have a very visual product. And certainly working in marketing in the space, like, you can only show so many pictures of server racks and things. And that's what a lot of companies rely on. It's the server racks and it's the cheesy photos of support people with their headsets on, who are typically very beautiful people, like suspiciously so. Like those sorts of things, like, they aren't effective visuals. And if you put yourself in the mindset of somebody who's searching for maybe a few different MSPs and comparing them, if you have photos that are just reminiscent of your competitors' photos, like, it's not going to differentiate you or differentiate your brand. So that is a unique challenge. Jason, do you have any thoughts on how you might be able to mitigate that challenge?
Yeah, again, there's two factors. Make sure you have someone that can dedicate some time to creating a content calendar. So, being able to schedule posts and planning ahead of time really helps, because it can be very overwhelming in terms of, oh, what do I say? When do I say it? Who am I talking to? So developing that as a strategy can really help break it down into minute, week by week posts.
Yeah.
Again, from just reiterating my advice from a few slides ago, is to go on each of the networks that you want to try out, and just absorb some of the content and see if it's something that you can do. You'll notice different patterns depending on each channel, and then you'll find out what appeals to you, and maybe you can incorporate that into your social media strategy.
Yeah, and see what competitors are doing too, right? On those networks. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I like the advice of planning ahead, because finding featured images for blogs or for social media posts can be quite time consuming.
Mhm.
It's often an afterthought. But then if you're scrambling at the last minute to get it done, it can take half an hour to find an appropriate photo for a blog. Going through them all. So yeah, it's good to get ahead of that, and you'll probably get better quality images than if you were just to do it last minute, and kind of accept these pictures of the server rack or whatever. And then, are there any other challenges that come to mind for IT service providers?
I would say just getting started and being consistent. That's one of the main problems when other companies start social media. They may post once a month or even once a year. I've seen some. So make sure you do have dedicated resources and dedicated time, because it is very time consuming to continue. But people like to see consistency. If they see you posting on a specific date and time, if you keep it up, eventually, it'll build credibility, and it'll show that your company is very responsive. So that could be the edge between you and a competitor.
Totally agree. So in summary, the question we were wanting to ask today is, what is the role of social media for IT service providers? And on the organic side of things, generally speaking, so it's going to vary, but on generally speaking, for MSPs and the organic side of things, you should be thinking about sharing the content that you're producing, which will be going to your existing contacts. You should be thinking about the SEO benefits as it pertains to reviews, to having your social media profiles show up in search results, and also backlinks as well. And also to communicate in the event of network outages or security incidents. Social media is a good way to reach your existing customers. And then on the paid social media side of things, it's a very good tool to share your content more broadly. So beyond your existing leads and customers and followers, it's a good tool to generate brand awareness at the top of the funnel, to get known in your local community or whatever market you're going after. There are some good lead generation ads on Facebook and LinkedIn, and more recently TikTok, that are worth exploring. And also to retarget to your existing contacts who visited your profiles or your website, to re-engage with them and to be top of mind with them. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, for listening today to our presentation. And we will pause here to see if there's any questions from the audience. Oops. Sorry, do you see any questions there, Jason? I don't.
Not in the chat, no.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, if again, thanks everyone for joining, and if you're on YouTube today, thanks for watching our channel, and I would highly encourage you to subscribe. Click that button below. We're doing webinars about every 3 weeks, and they're always pertaining to a topic about marketing or M&A for IT service providers. So if you liked what you hear today and you want to hear more of it, please click that subscribe button below. And if you're interested in getting in contact with us on the M&A side of the business, There's the contact information for the host broker there. And on the eBridge side of the business as well, you can get in contact with us through email, or you can give us a shout. And thank you, everybody. And we hope to talk to you soon.
See you next time.